I hope I'm not Mr. Sneezy today, because
I hope I'm not Doc or Goofy today. Wait, there's no dwarf called Goofy.
well, what if it was, right? What?
Gorsh.
Yeah, gosh.
I mean, the
Snow
way
White?
Disney's doing, they're going to be digitally inserting, Goofy and Olaf into all their movies from now on.
I actually feel like Goofy's kind of like relegated to the background a little bit. Like when you really think about it, like Goofy had like a moment in, like the '90s and 2000s, right? You had a Goofy movie,
Goofy
extremely
was
Goofy
huge.
movie. Yeah, and then now he's been fucking retconned.
You know what Disney should do?
What?
Coasting
What should
off
they
of
do?
the success of like BoJack Horseman, they could do like a sequel to a very Goofy movie set in the like 2020s where Goofy is like washed up and he's like, "Gosh, I'm not gonna do any more Goofy movies."
Or maybe he's like actually smart, but everyone thinks he's stupid, and like
And
he's
he's
just like
"Gosh, I have a PhD."
a pretty huge dick. That's
And he also has a big penis, and no one expects that out of Goofy.
yeah, because everyone knows stupid people have the smallest penises.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen Albert Einstein?
I have seen his nudes.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
has many of them.
His tongue is out and his dick's out.
Albert Einstein was a huge slut.
Slut him out, guys. Slut out for
Yeah.
science, baby.
We're slut shaming Albert Einstein.
Yeah, smart people shouldn't have sex. Actually,
I don't think so. I mean, that's what Paul said.
Paul who?
The Bible.
Oh, okay. I knew him as Saul of Tarsus, actually. So
Oh, okay, you knew him before.
yeah, before like the cloud or the angel appeared to him on like a fucking horse, and he's like,
We
"Hey,
got to stop talking about
religion.
religion in every episode.
You better
We
find
both
religion."
listen.
Doc. What's
Listen,
that from?
we both went to Christian schools. Sorry,
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, I'm sorry, God. I've done things that would shame you. No, what's the line from Angels and Demons? It's all like the one of the Preferides like, God, I hope God forgives you. He goes like, I've done many things. Like, he won't forgive me for what I've done, but he'll forgive me for what I'm about to do.
Whoa.
And I'm like, hell yeah, dude.
I'm gonna make God kill himself. Just to commit the worst sins.
Well, okay, here's a small like Christian thing. So, you know how like okay, so Seventh Day Adventists. I don't know how we haven't had a religion thing and how that's impacted our style. I feel like we absolutely should. We kind of did one, and when we look back at it, I think our audio was fucked up. You couldn't hear anything that anyone was talking about in our stream. You can find that on
Oh, no.
YouTube. Anyway, I grew up Seventh Day Adventist, and we have a big firm thing on like being on fire for God. I'm sure that's that's on every kind of Christian thing, but we focused, speaking of Paul, his letter about like being lukewarm, where like it's you either got to be like so gung ho or or just like not be into it, but the worst is when you're lukewarm. And so I feel like that kind of affected me a little bit, like where if I don't feel like I love it, I don't like it. So maybe
you're
God,
like you're a lot like Anton Ego.
that's right. I don't like food. I love it.
Yeah.
Damn, I had another joke about this damn thing, but I totally forgot. But yeah, Saul of Tarsus. What a guy. What a race traitor for a little bit, right? Because he was like.
I don't remember that.
Well, okay, I guess he was like turning over like the first Christians were like Jewish, right? Like Peter and everything.
You're talking. Okay.
He was like a tattletale or something. He's a narc, I think, and then God
Uh-huh.
appeared to him. Read the Bible, guys. We're sponsored by the Lord Jesus Christ.
No, this is gonna be
Oh!
more alienating than anything we've ever talked about.
I do remember what I was going to say now. Seventh-day Adventists believe that the worst thing you could do is like blasphemy. So I remember like a pastor said he went to a satanic church and they did hymns, but they replaced like any reference to God to reference to Satan, and the guy was like, I cried because that's the worst thing you could do. Like, you can't take this and get it wrong like that. That's
cried.
the worst. Yeah.
That's
so-
fun. That's a fun reaction.
I like how it makes Satanists out to just be kind of little shits, you know? They're just like,
Yeah,
oh, look
they're
at
just
us.
little stinkers, like the UK version of Dennis the Menace out there, like being mean with their dog.
That's right. Like look at this
Yeah.
little asshole right here. Look at Anton LaVey out
Stinker.
here.
He's
Satan.
so churlish.
Yeah. Is that the current guy?
It could be.
Yeah.
Gonna have to part the curtains to find out. Speaking of parting curtains,
It's time to light the lights and I don't. Well, actually, the Muppet Show is not a movie, but there is a couple of Muppet movies.
and folks, we love the movies. We're talking about movies today, but not movie style.
Yeah, not movie style. No. This is different.
This is different. If you want movie style, you have to go to our Patreon.
That's right. Or actually, if you really like movie style, go to Banff. Like I think Banff.com. I mean,
Or Banff style.
Banff style. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
honestly, I don't know his name in real life. I'm so sorry, but he's got like the best movie. Like I mean, again, we do our stuff on Patreon because if he heard it for free, he would be sad by how much we suck at talking about movie style. He has
Yeah.
done some of the best stuff, but that's a topic for another day.
Great
guys.
screenshots on that site.
He has some of the best screenshots I think, and he has like
some of the best screenshots.
the best. But we're not talking for once. We're not talking about movie style today. We're talking about thinking about life like a movie. Life like a movie
Yeah,
from
my
Rascal Flatts.
life a movie, bro.
That's right. We are talking about cinematic dressing and vibes, movie vibes.
And vibes. Yeah.
This is called vibe.
And so, I mean, this is like another relatively broad topic.
Yeah.
Sorry. That gets. Sorry, everybody, but yeah. This is it's like about like thinking visually, being able to I guess not like directly rip off a costume from a movie, but being able to get inspiration, take the vibe of the movie, and kind of express that in your style.
Yeah, it's like Spencer said. It's not just about like, oh, I'm gonna dress like Indiana Jones. It's like what would Indiana Jones wear if he was off duty? It's just a framing or a mindset you can use when creating clothes or creating sorry not creating clothes. That's a different story. But creating outfits and putting stuff together.
But some people do use this to create clothes.
That's true, as we'll get into.
Discuss later.
Yeah.
And so I think an important piece of context for this
Yes.
is that Ethan and I, Ethan closer than me, but we both live pretty
Physically.
close to Hollywood.
Yeah.
You're within the 30-mile zone. I think I'm like I'm like maybe 20 miles outside of it.
So 50 miles outside of it.
The
Yes.
50-mile zone.
Yeah.
But anyway, we
FMZ.
both have a lot of friends that work in Hollywood costuming. Like we know costumers and or a lot of people that just work
And we've
in
shopped
other...
at wardrobe warehouses. We have friends who are studying film, who have made film, who aspire to be filmmakers, who aspire to be actors.
We have a lot of showbiz friends.
And this is not.
So I think
this is not because we're so cool. It's also because we just live here, and
this is what happens when you live.
Yeah,
when you live around LA, you know people that work in movies, and so I think that if you're someone that grows up in that environment, this kind of thinking is going to be, I don't know, it's going to come more naturally.
Yeah, and I also want to say
for those of you outside of LA, I know that we might sound like crazy people, but this is how we sound. This is how
I know. I had lunch
think.
and I saw Patrick Swayze. I don't know. I couldn't think of like a famous person that wasn't like a fucking celebrity or whatever.
You saw Jay Leno get in a car accident. Once.
I did say I see Jay Leno. I've seen him. I've seen composer John Powell. I've seen some comedians because I did go to some comedy shows and everything. But I also want to say one big thing here is this comes from kind of becoming like a movie enthusiast. Like maybe not so much a film bro, maybe Spencer and his friends more so than me, but we love watching movies for fun.
Yeah.
I don't think I am not like a Letterboxd fanatic here, but I mean Spencer, one of the things me and Spencer like connected on when we were friends is like we just like watching movies, and Spencer has introduced me to a lot of movies and a lot of ways of thinking about movies. Old movies, right?
Yeah, I really do. I like movies a lot. I've always been into the movies since I was a kid. But yeah, I do like. I was into vintage. I like a lot of like old movies. My favorite thing to do is like on a Sunday morning is to pop on TCM and eat breakfast. But yeah, I tend to like. I like putting on movies like even just like as background noise. Obviously
can't do that, but sure.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of movies that deserve your full attention. But yeah, I have something on a lot.
Yeah. Yes, you
And
do.
I do, you know, you say that you don't really get as much inspiration from like TV shows or movies. I don't feel like I ever, I mean, I guess sometimes when I'm wearing a jungle jacket and like, you know, like a chambray shirt, I'm basically dressed like Doc Sportello.
Yeah.
But I don't think I ever like directly steal, you know, like lift costumes. But if I watch enough movies with in a certain genre or anything, it puts me in a certain mood that influences, you know, like how I, you know, what kind of clothes I pick out.
And it's one of those
I
things,
pick up
right?
on the
Like
vibes.
we can't, yeah, pick, yeah, this is called vibe. I mean, it's one
Yeah.
of those things of just being aware of what influences you, right? Like I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people like to say that social media isn't a form of inspiration. I think it is too, but then, there's also other forms of media, like, like a movie. Like a movie represents so many different things, time period, music,
Mm-hmm.
lighting, mood, vibe. I mean, and of course the costuming too. So there's a lot of vibes. So you can dress like a movie without directly, like as you said, directly lifting an outfit, but you can be like, okay, I just watched a 70s film. I feel like being 70s today. What does
Yeah.
that mean? So yeah, Spencer's kind of introduced that to me. I'm more of the pop culture stuff. I mean, I feel like that's not a new thing for anybody to know. I'm a nerd, a bad one at that. Like, I'm like not a cultural nerd. I try to be. I do like being like my Frasier, but I do like watching, kind of world building movies, sci-fi adventure movies, not high fantasy like Lord of the Rings. Although Spencer and I did watch that for the first time last year. Um, but talk about like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Back to the
Mm-hmm.
Future, where there's kind of like this, there's more fun involved here, and that could be a form of escapism for me. My mom was also a nerd, so she watched the original Star Wars multiple times in theaters. She signed up for Bantha Tracks, which was the old 70s and 80s Star Wars like fan letter magazine kind of a thing
That's
that like
fun.
tracked the production of it. She was the one who first told me like Blue Harvest was the name of Return of the Jedi. So I've always been kind of um into that, and with TV as well. Like I liked Heroes, stuff like that. And so for me, I know Spencer never really said he wanted to work in Hollywood. I don't think we did either,
Mm-hmm.
but I actually made a lot of films when I was a kid. I like one of my first things was asked one of my first presents for like when I was a teen, like when I was 12 or 13 years old, was getting a digital camera. And I
Yeah.
would and I would make a lot. I mean, Spencer and some people in the Discord know that I have made a lot of movies, and they're not like serious stuff. I mean, maybe I tried to um
There's some definitely dramatic ones,
there's some
I
dramatic
guess.
stuff, but there's a lot of focus on more like adventure, silly, and action stuff there. And there's
Yeah.
always like a world involved. I try and have references to backstory that maybe is not shown in the film, but you kind of go, okay, maybe this guy's got something behind there. Like, maybe a guy had a parent whose tragedy forced him to sign up for the army. That's a reference that no one will know, but Spencer knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Um,
I also, yeah, I had a video cam, or I think it was like a VHS camera in like elementary school and middle school that I would do like skits with like a
mhm.
couple friends. Um, I don't think any of those are on YouTube, thank God. Um,
Mine are.
but but I don't think I'm really, I don't want to necessarily like make movies, but I really really like all the behind the scenes stuff. Like
Yes, you
I
write. You read
love,
a lot of books about that. You watch documentaries a lot.
yeah, I'm like really interested in like all the behind the scenes like aspect of movie making. So I think it would be fun to be like a director or production designer, but like, you know, I don't really want to get into the industry just having
Yeah,
heard of
I,
it
I,
through
I
friends.
wouldn't I wouldn't want to be in the industry either, but I do like the idea of I mean it kind of just comes with being a little bit of a creative
Mm,
whether that means you are a filmmaker or you like doing it for fun, but to be able to control this world. And so that's again for me like seeing Star Wars like okay, what could I make? And not just like oh, writing like a space fantasy or space opera, but like what goes on into it, like what does the lighting look like, what are the costumes, what do the people sound like, and for me
yeah.
especially what does the music sound like? I think music, I mean to me, I think that's what I get most from movies, and maybe that translates a little bit to how I am focused on creating a world. I think that music is a world in itself. They can have a musical narrative of a film.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think, well, yeah, I think if I were to make movies, what it would be like, I don't know, like I would either just like straight up copy like a bunch of like moves from like 60s or 70s like directors, or it would be something like Wes Anderson or Guillermo del Toro, where it's just a really specific like visual world.
Yeah,
Um,
I think we're the same in that regard. Like I
yeah,
really, you know, I know we're gonna talk about like director fits in the future, because
uh-huh.
we were actually we were gonna add
It
it
was
to
gonna
this
be that
one,
was
but
like
then it was just too
originally the
long.
topic. Yeah,
Yeah, originally the topic. Yeah, but yeah, no, I think if I made something, I haven't made anything in a long time. I have been relegated to mainly scoring, for fun for like the past 3 or 4 years, one project a year.
hmm
But yeah, I think if I did make one, it would kind of be the same way. I definitely love a lot of like the way Fincher handles cinematography. I love dramatic lighting, especially green and yellow lighting that Fincher
yeah,
does and everything. Again, favorite movie, one of the favorite movies, Social Network, one of the top right there.
that's a good one.
Um, but yeah, so we've always had this kind of idea of thinking cinematically. Like again, for me, like I also think about that when I'm doing photography. But we believe that this is a fun way to approach dressing up.
Yeah,
um, Kiyoshi in our Discord, we kind of, again, our Patreon Discord, great place to kind of contribute ideas, not just for the topics, but actually contribute to the discussion itself. Kiyoshi says that world building can help you establish a point of view more easily,
hmm
and that's a great way of thinking about it because it's not, again, it's not as easy as just dressing like a character. Like I said, it's about finding this world cinematically, I guess, of where your outfit fits into. And it could be,
yes,
we'll talk about what this world means later, but it could be, where you are trying to fit in, or it could be what you project yourself. I think, again, this is not like, it's a little bit of like main character syndrome, but spun a bit more positively and less narcissistically. I mean, if you want to call it,
yeah. As
I would say it's narcissistic maybe, and I'm a narcissist, so.
if you really want to boil this topic down, it's like it's just kind of about like a way of figuring out how you want to express yourself to others. Like thinking like a costume designer, because characters in movies, they wear specific garments for certain reasons. Like it tells a little bit of their backstory or what they do, and it is a little bit cheesy, but you can do the same kind of thing with your wardrobe. And I
Yeah.
also think that we do this because, once again, it's like a vintage habit. Because when you're dressing vintage, you kind of have to, like, if you want to fit in at least with the LA scene, you have to kind of like pick a specific time period. You can't just be like, oh, I'm wearing this like crazy 70s jacket with this like 30s pants and like 50s tie or something. You have to say, I'm like this specific person in like 1943. Like, this is my job,
Yeah.
and these are the kinds of clothes that a person in this profession would wear.
And even then, right? Like, I mean, it comes down to how you want to approach it. Because sometimes you could be
Uh
that,
huh.
like, if you want to be that guy who combines a lot of vintage stuff, that's kind of a point of view too. That's kind of an intentional
Yeah.
thing. But for us, at least when we were dressing, we had to think about stuff vintage very specifically. Not that we had to, but we like that idea. We actually like.
hmm
It wasn't that it's better than the other thing. It's just that we like the challenge of like, okay, we like the 30s. So is this outfit what a banker would wear in 1936? Is this what a railroad worker would wear in 1932? Was this a depression thing? Is this
hmm
a farmhand? And again, like, it's just a different way of coming at it. It's just we like that frame of mindset, and so that's kind of what was the basis for dressing cinematically. So now,
Yeah.
we don't have a lot of context anymore. Like, again, like, yeah, there are some jobs that need it. Like, if you work at the bank now, you probably still have to wear a dark suit. If you work, if you're selling something, you're a car dealer or a barista. Some baristas, like our friend Chris, are able to wear whatever they want. That's cool. But, you might have a uniform, might have to wear an apron. But largely, the more the more the world gets fractured, the less context and the less outfit context, um or situations there are, you
hmm
know and so formality goes out the window. What does a college student wear? I mean, you could think about what an average college student wear, but there's nothing that prescribes. There's nothing prescriptive for a college student, right? Or for me, I'm a video game marketer now. I don't like. There's What do those guys look like? Do they wear t-shirts? Do they wear blazers? Do they wear sweater? Like, there's nothing there. So we have all this freedom here, and it's left to our interpretation. So for us who like movies, who get into the fun of it, and who grew up with the vintage mindset, it's
hmm
like, okay, we have a lot of room here to think cinematically of, okay, what vibes are we going to push out there? And yeah, I mean, because when you think about it, even with movies, everything is so carefully considered. Like a
Yeah,
movie is not just filming. I mean, there are some movies like that, which is kind of cool. Like, like kind of auteur stuff, or like
you just set up a
Escape.
camera.
Yeah, you set up a camera, or
Yeah.
Escape from Tomorrowland, or that where we're like
Oh my
you
god,
just
the
you just
Disney
film with your phone at Disneyland or Disney World. I'm sorry.
bad movie by the. Well, no, they did.
No,
They
I'm
said
sorry.
both.
They did pickup shoots at Disneyland because they got kicked out of Disney
Yeah.
World. That's right. Look up that one. I think it's on Amazon or something like that.
It's
or YouTube.
really bad.
It's so bad.
It's a bad movie.
It doesn't. It almost like it could be like a German existential film or something, but it's not. It's like what someone. It's like what a high school. Not even that. It's what a weird like 30-year-old man would think of as an existentialist
And
film. And
he's
commentary.
too horny. The
He's
main
so
character
horny.
spends the whole movie like chasing after like teenage girls.
It's
so
so
and he's
bad.
the good guy. It's so weird.
It's so bad. So don't do that. But again, like with the most like if we're talking for me again, big budget blockbuster films, I don't care, mass market, I love them. I love Marvel. But even then, there is still lighting, color grading, set designing, blocking. There's so much that goes into it that I wouldn't say like it. The challenge there is to make it all look authentic. Like you don't you want to feel like when you're watching it, you want to feel immersed in that world, and especially the actors are going to be in that world. So it's a little bit of both, right? It's a bit of how others perceive you and how you are creating it, and that fun challenge is all a part of cinematic dressing that we actually enjoy. Like it's you could say that we're thinking too hard about it, but maybe that's the right way of thinking about it
Yeah, it's
for us at least.
It for us, it's the right way of doing it. I mean, like you said, it's like it's just kind of a we keep calling it fun, but it is like just a fun challenge when getting dressed because, as you said, if there's like no context, if there's no suggestion, sometimes like that's when I get like overwhelmed with
Yeah, when
with,
nothing
like,
matters, right?
yeah, not to be all Mark Zuckerberg, but that's when I get decision fatigue or whatever, where there's no.
Oh
there's,
no,
I mean,
we're the real STEM guys now.
we're the real STEM guys, but we're gonna have to do an episode about the improv mindset
That's true.
eventually because it's like it's getting a suggestion for a scene essentially.
Yeah, scenes from a hat, So
Yeah.
yeah,
Hey, maybe that would be a fun thing, having a hat with a bunch of like outfit suggestions on there that you pull out of your
Right.
pull out every time before you get dressed.
I think that's where not to be all chess mindset here, but I think that's where people might find an issue with this cinematic dressing thing. I feel like it assumes that we have a lot of power, or assumes a person has too much power over their environment. And I would say that this is also just like with Hollywood. We are just in LA where context really doesn't matter. Working from home is it's so prevalent. I mean, I work from home completely now. We don't, or my company doesn't have to have Zoom, our cameras on for Zoom. So I get, it would be sad to kind of just have that decision fatigue of, whatever. So it's fun to be like, okay, today I feel like dressing like my interpretation of Ivy. What does a 60s Ivy guy, what would he wear to his job, or maybe today I'm gonna go out like French style and dark tailoring to a bar because I feel like, okay, like that's the kind of character that I want to be. And again, you can't, obviously you can have your own decisions of whether or not that's applicable to you, but not to pull rank here, but we got Mr. Ralph Lauren himself,
Oh,
who
yeah.
is the king of doing this shit, man.
Yeah, he did a whole interview with a Hollywood Reporter about this, the documentary that I think we talked about on stream, right? Very Ralph.
Very Ralph.
Very Ralph. It has a lot about this, but yeah. So he is. I think he coined like the term like cinematic dressing, or he's the one that when you talk about a cinematic approach to dressing, I think he's like, I don't know, the most famous practitioner probably.
Yeah. Of Satanism?
But yeah, he's so churlish, but yeah. So whenever he puts together a collection, he has like a staging room, which he fills with like furniture, like paintings, like art, decor, whatever. Not just the like actual clothing, but things that kind of fit the same visual aesthetic or fit the same vibe that he's going for with the collection.
Yeah.
Do you want to read that quote?
Yeah,
that we
absolutely.
have?
And this is something I really love. I'm glad that Spencer found this, but he says here, when I started designing, it was never just about the tie or the shirt or the dress. It was always about the hero or the heroine I had in mind. They are the stars of my movies and express what I have to say. I study their character and I create for them and through them. I guess you could say in some ways I am the director and the screenwriter. I write through my clothes. That's amazing right there.
And
I mean,
I found, yeah, well, go on, but I found another good quote that talks about one of his more recent collections.
oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, so he did this. I mean, he did something with Ralph's Club, which is also something that Kyoshi mentioned in our Discord.
Yeah.
But that was a really really cool collection, or at least like the like photo shoot was very cool because it was like old Hollywood. Everyone's in like this like special club or whatever special club, this fancy club,
Yeah.
wearing like black tie. Here we go. Maybe I do offer a little escapism, given the world we live today. I couldn't find a location that expressed the story I was trying to tell, so I created a glamorous nightclub that brought the clothes to life and let you dream a little.
That's great. I love that. I
Yeah.
mean, the more I think about this, it could be a literal East versus West Coast kind of a thing because I think the East Coast has so much history involved with their surroundings, and the West Coast is like literally the Wild West, right? I mean, Hollywood is over here. There is like untapped possibility, and I would feel like, especially nowadays where things are kind of like agnostic. Again, it's fun to fill in those gaps with again, maybe movies is a kind of a like a juvenile term here, but like fill it cinematically. What does that
Yeah.
mean? And
And I feel like you can see like the cinematic way of dressing through how like Ralph himself dresses. Like when
That's
he's
right.
hanging out at his like place, like in New York or whatever, you'll see him wearing his like pinstripe suits or turtlenecks. If he's on his ranch, he's wearing flannel shirts and like Henleys and jeans and leather jackets and shit. It's
Yeah.
it's kind of like dressing for your environment, but it's also like this dude has like the wardrobe of like six different people depending on where he's living.
And
It's
that
like
I have that, literally, like I
yeah,
have. I mean, I think personally, some people might take it the wrong way, but I definitely have a lot of variety in my wardrobe. To me, it's all cohesive because to me, it's like I liked it, so I picked it. But there's a lot of different vibes. It's called vibe for a
it's
reason
called
here.
vibe.
But it's like I'm able to kind of use what I have and force it into other aesthetics. It's like, yeah, I can do Ivy, I can be Esquire Man, I can be Bryceland's or Drake's, and I think a lot of other guys get where Ralph Lauren's coming from. I feel like that's kind of the basis of a little bit of social media, to kind of encapsulate this cinematic idea in one image. But
Mm.
I would, some people might say, oh, well, that's all fake. But I feel like people do this in like real life too. It represents like the friends that you hang out with, the places that you like to frequent. They kind of become a part of your world. And I think brands, we'll get into friends and everything and hobbies later on, but I think other brands have followed Ralph's suit too, where Drake's is one great example of kind of
Mhm.
this kind of world, right? Like, I mean, obviously they started out just taking photos of their staff in London. It's kind of agnostic. Like, here's, it's more like Tumblr, kind of like what the Armory did. And the Armory has a very good brand idea, but it wasn't cinematic. No offense to Mark Cho, but I feel like, it's very nice clothing. It's a, it's international classic. But Drake's, when they opened their New York store and when they had the guys there at the time, the way they shot it, probably a testament to Fred Castleberry, it feels cinematic. It's shot almost like a film, like maybe a
Yeah.
little bit of like a film still, but also in the same way that Ralph Lauren kind of composes his shots. There's like the movements, or they're kind of frozen in time, but they're kind of indicative of an action, right? Like
I mean,
there's
there's the shoot where Alex Winchell is wearing the black tie and hailing a cab, and it's kind of it's telling the beginning of a story. Like,
yeah,
where's this guy going?
yeah, exactly. He's wearing those leopard print evening shoes, or like
I
the
mean,
ones where
you could talk about Fred Castleberry's other like his photography where he tries
literally
to do
puts
straight up movie
subtitles as
stills.
if it is a film, and he also has done film stuff like short film stuff, which
Mhm.
if you can call it cheesy if you want to, but I think the merit is so great there, like to be able to again create this idea, even if you're not aware of like Wes Anderson, and even though me and Spencer can see the differences between his stuff and Wes Anderson stuff, it's still a great example of exercising this kind of control, um,
Yeah.
uh, and creative work, and it's all there, the music you choose and everything. But yeah, Drake's, was one that does. I think a lot of people have followed that too. I think that I got inspired by this idea with my photography, to kind of, it's not just, I don't, especially knows this, I don't like just taking a flat image of someone. I will take those too for explanation's sake, but I love taking candidates because it's the world that we literally where we are.
Yeah.
And this is not something that is just stuck with menswear. I mean, I would say that other brands do this a lot too. You could think of fucking Rick Owens, where not just in the
Mm-hmm.
shoots, not just in the what do you call it, the runway shows, but he has this eye for whatever the Rick Owens world is. He has
Yeah, like
designed
you
furniture
look
in
at pictures
stores,
of
man.
his like French apartment or whatever, and it's like, oh yeah, this is where Rick Owens lives. It's like this weird like cement like hovel, but
Yeah.
it fits into his aesthetic ideal, and that's something, I don't know, that's something I admire, when you can like where you can take your style and apply it to
I,
other like
Oh,
visual arts.
absolutely. And even if you're not designing, I think that
Yeah.
there's kind of a way of doing it too, where like Mohawk, they curate, they're a retailer of men's and women's clothing. They opened a home goods like section now, and it's cool to see, okay, like they're not making the home goods, but this is what a Mohawk person could have in their home. It's maybe
Mm-hmm.
reflective of the owners of what they have in their home. So I think that that's kind of cool, and like I think a lot of people again follow suit with this. I mean, it might be harder for us since we don't have a place where it's all like art. We don't have like a studio or anything, but I can think of guys like Marco, right? Where like he has this
Mm-hmm.
kind of a style, and cinematically everything in his world applies to it. Where he rides motorcycles. He also likes to go to like underground raves in the fucking sewer. And then that's where you get to see, okay, so that's where the engineer boots, but the star pants come into play here. Or his like
Yeah.
mesh tank tops, but a biker jacket. Like I think there's a lot of stuff that goes into this, into kind of thinking of yourself as like a character. Like what does this person wear? And if someone were to play you in a movie, what would the costume designer pick?
Yeah.
For us it might be a
What's
boring movie, but My Dinner with Andre, but we'll get to that in a second.
Hey, yeah. I mean, well, I'm jumping a little ahead in
Okay,
the
yeah, go ahead.
notes here, but I think this might be a good place to quote Brett, another Patreon, or another patron, sorry,
Yeah.
who he says that his main two influences are Bob. He's like big in he's a T, for context. If you don't know Brett, you should follow him on Instagram, Twitter, whatever.
Fantastic guy.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. He's also a TV writer, a TV critic for
The Decider.
Decider. Yeah, sorry, forgot that for a second. But he says that his two main influences are Bob Newhart on the Bob Newhart Show and Robert Wagner on Heart to Heart. I think I'm quoting him here. I think my style is mostly a celebration of masculinity, a kind of masculinity that I see on men in older sitcoms and TV shows, one that actually, for the first time in my life, feels like something I can totally lean into. And then he talks about, I also think that I extend this to all out to a world. My home office is modeled after Dr. Hartley's on Bob Newhart. I bought a 1986 Zenith television and hooked it up to an Apple TV. I'm someone who loves order and aesthetics and planning and whatnot, so having an overarching mood board like a few old TV shows ends up influencing everything from iPhone cases to chairs to Christmas decorations, etc.
Yeah, he says that he feels like he dresses like a character, like he could be out of this world of
Mhm.
like a sitcom or a 1980s mystery procedural. That he kind of, I mean, this quote, Ralph Lauren with escapism, he wishes he was kind of living in that world.
Yeah.
He says that clothes, Brett says clothes are all about communication, and it's communication in a way is storytelling, which includes TV, movies, and books. They're all stories. Clothes are stories. And it's also fun to kind of reference it too, like with his ID bracelet says Bob, and he did
Yeah.
show us that he got a custom, I think,
The
Cheers
Cheers.
signet
That
ring.
thing is so cool.
And it's awesome because I feel like we're talking about this whole idea of signaling parts about personality. Some things can be more subtle than others, and people might not always be able to get it. I don't think that a regular person who is maybe, and like for me, I didn't really watch all these old 80s 90s TV shows or watch Nick at Night, so it might be lost on me. But that doesn't mean that you can't take ownership of it and just do it anyway. It's kind of like wearing a merch T-shirt where it's by its very merit of being a piece of fandom of something. It's a very, if you know kind of a thing. And
Mhm.
it's not an elitism kind of thing. It's actually kind of positive, where when you're out there someone goes, hey, I've watched that show, or hey, I've seen that band, but it's like it's about expanding that merch idea into being what, like, what the person could be like.
Yeah.
It's not just about wearing the TV, like a fan of rock and roll could wear, I don't know, a Kiss t-shirt.
And most fans of rock and roll do love Kiss.
Yeah,
So.
but you could also dress, in leather jacket, boots, or whatever. You could dress like Gene Simmons without wearing a fucking Kiss t-shirt. Like, like there's a lot of ways to doing it, and there's two different ways of approaching it. Like, I think of how like Ben Wyatt. I don't know why I thought of Ben Wyatt, but like, the way that they show his outfits, like, it's very like gingham shirts with like a skinny tie. Like, so it's like he's kind of proper, but he has, kind of a mood and kind of like a little bit of like youthfulness to him. And then when you see him when he's casual, like when he's like drunk or whatever. And I'm sorry I picked a TV character and not a movie character here, but he wears like a Letters to Cleo t-shirt, and I think that that's kind of a fun, like, okay, so even though he's like this kind of straight laced CPA, he still listens to some bands, some like indie bands here, So I think that that's kind of fun. But I'm sure that you're wondering, is this cosplay? Is this whole
And
I
everyone
think
was
cosplay?
wondering that.
Yeah, I mean, hey, there's a lot of angry guys who didn't like my connotations to it. And first, I want to say that I don't think so. I don't think cinematic dressing is cosplay, because to me, as someone, again, I'm not a true cosplayer. My definition of my exercise in cosplay is so easy. It's crazy, but to me, cosplay is about representing a character by following a checklist. It's about following the exact look of a character. It's usually like a singular outfit, and I can think of things that usually have some kind of uniform or unchanging costume design. Like I can think of Indiana Jones. Even though Indiana Jones, if you watch the movies, he has worn things more than his leather jacket, but most people think about, so if you were going to do a costume or cosplay of Indiana Jones, it would be that it's a direct lift without any room for interpretation.
And I think the other thing is that this idea of dressing cinematically is once again like not necessarily about dressing like someone else. It's about it's about, I don't know, like dressing like the character of you, or dressing like, just presenting yourself exactly how you want to be, viewed.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair though, at least for me, that does take references to other things. Like I'm not gonna shy away from the fact that I am kind of defined by what I like. I feel like it's nice to be like, yeah, I like Star Wars, and I'm gonna show that I like Star Wars. I feel like I think we used to, or at least I used to be against that look, but then I kind of change a little bit here. And I same thing, I used to like look down on cosplay, but the more I think about it, the more, at least it's an example of like fun and kind of losing yourself in this character. But that's what I think is a difference here, where you're more in cosplay, you're more in service of the thing you are copying, as opposed to thinking about the context and the stated and unstated details that could be conducive to an outfit. It's about dressing cinematically is about the other choices, not just checking stuff off. And so, like I said, like Indiana Jones has a lot of other interesting outfits that kind of make sense of the character, even if we don't recognize him. Like when he wears like a gray fedora and a suit, it's like, oh yeah, like he wouldn't wear his beat up brown fedora and leather jacket to the classroom, or when he's out on the date, he would be wearing a nicer fedora and a suit. It would be disingenuous to say that he's being inauthentic. Like, he just has different outfits for what his context requires, and that's kind of cinematic dressing in itself, thinking of Indiana Jones that way, which I think is pretty smart. When you see him from the cold open, right, in Peru, and then you see him teaching class, it's like, okay, there's two sides to this character. People can be multifaceted.
Cinematic dressing is all you have to do is just think about Indiana Jones.
Hell yeah, dude. I mean,
I'm
in my
thinking
head,
about Indiana Jones 24/7.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But to say again, I think cosplay is kind of a positive term for me, because to me it actually it was never a thing to, like, it wasn't a derisive term, because again, this could be just an LA thing here, being growing up Asian, having friends who watched anime and went to anime expos. I'll have some pictures of me at Anime Expo in the picture in the show notes here. But to me, it was a positive term. I mean, even though it was silly and obviously something that you couldn't wear, it was, again, this idea about losing yourself and having this kind of art form into creating an elaborate costume that is accurate. I think that that's kind of cool. Like, I can't knock like guys who dress super period accurate all the time, because it's actually kind of cool to be in that mindset and to kind of frame your dressing that way. And I used to cosplay. Obviously, my outfits and the characters I dressed as were more menswear inclined. Like, yeah. I think of Light Yagami from Death Note. He wears like a school uniform for the first season. He wears like a black suit. And so for him though, it's not just about wearing like the black suit with like the gold and black striped tie. You have to have the hair. You gotta have the wig, the blonde hair for Yagami, and you have to have the Death Note, the notebook, and you have to have the apple, because that, like, those small pieces are what make you that particular character, and not just a random dude with blonde hair and a suit. And I think that to me, as I look back at costume, like, wow, that's actually pretty interesting, And I think when I know people who have made like the Gundam costumes, like literally like made out of like plastic and 3D printed, or even like the Star Wars 501st stuff, you're not, sometimes you could be a regular stormtrooper or you can be a scout trooper, but you can't wear a stormtrooper mask and be a scout trooper. Like there's other details involved there. Also, the armor is literally different.
That's it's like I mean the 501st especially, then you're getting into the territory of like it's like war reenacting a little bit.
There's specific rules there
when you're picking out an outfit, whatever uniform for war reenacting,
right?
You have to like, I don't know. I mean, you have to fit the uniform.
You do. And I feel like, and so for me, being in LA, you do see people cosplaying out in public. And at first I used to kind of knock it, but then I'm like, like they are kind of doing their own thing. I feel like it's not, and if this is me changing my mind, then so be it, because now when I go to Little Tokyo, I think it's actually nice that a group of friends are there, wearing the wigs, and I recognize the anime. It's like, oh, there's Demon Slayer right there. That's pretty cool. And sometimes it is really great, the attention to detail that they have, and this kind of just pure, my only term for it is narcissism, but I guess you call it control over their surrounding, to be like, you know what, I'm gonna wear this. It's actually it's very heartwarming to me. But
and I mean, we know people who got into cosplay and then just started making like real clothes. Like that's the other cool thing. It's like there are. I mean, I'm not as big, and I don't have any experience with cosplay in the same way that you do, but there are very lazy cosplays where it's like everything's from Party City or whatever. But there are some people
who take it seriously,
really get into it, and like make the garments themselves. And I mean, hey, that's pretty cool.
That is cool. And I think what's awesome here is one of the guys in my old Facebook group, which is still active, I just don't moderate it as much anymore. But Cameron, he was a cosplayer, but he also liked menswear. And so he was able to see all the, because if you're looking to, okay, you can't find Han Solo's jacket out there. Like it might have a base in like some old 80s work jacket, but there's stuff added to it. And so being aware of those details made him a natural enthusiast of like vintage and seeing the different stuff there. But when he did make the Han Solo jacket, but the cool thing that he did was that Han Solo's jacket is so cool that you can wear it with regular stuff, and it's not that big of a difference here,
It's like wearing the drive jacket.
It's like wearing the drive jacket, or wearing Quint's M65, Oh no, I think it's an M53. I think, I don't know. I haven't watched Jaws in a while. Maybe it's time for our annual rewatch of Jaws.
Our Jaws watch.
Right, but here's where I start to kind of like it. So there's this concept called Disney bounding that is kind of cosplay light, not in the I would say lower way of like the Party City one where it feels lazy, but one that is still just as intentional but applicable to real life. Now, people who have followed the Discord and the podcast know what Disney bounding is, but I'll say it again here. It was this concept of dressing inspired by a Disney character to be worn legitimately at the park. And by legitimately, I mean like you weren't getting in trouble because Disneyland says you cannot wear a literal like real accurate costume, because you don't want to be confused for the actual cast members who are there to get their picture taken with kids. You don't want that to happen. And so people kind of got around it, not to kind of, it's not to like make a big deal, but to kind of be like, I want to have some fun. It's a fun way of thinking about what you wear to Disneyland, because nowadays when you go to Disneyland, if you wanted to be the best, you would probably wear workout clothing, a big hat, comfortable shoes, a fanny pack, because you'd be standing in line and being in the hot sun. But you don't have to do that. And so people dress like the character. If you wanted to be, Cinderella in her blue dress, you could maybe wear like a light blue. You could wear a light blue dress and maybe put your hair up in a bun like she does. I don't know if it's called a bun. I don't know how women describe their hairstyles. But it's like, okay, like for that day, you are kind of dressing like Cinderella, and I think that's kind of cool. It kind of defined a little bit too much of like the early 2010s, but it's actually just a celebration of fun here, and it's not out of context because you're going to Disneyland here, where there's a world for you guys, And even though it sounds like it's restrictive here, there's actually like hundreds of Disney characters you could dress up as, and because it's such a loose interpretation where you wear clothes, I guess at the basic form it's just basically color matching, but that could be anything, right? Like, so for example, my example here is like, if you want to be Mickey Mouse, right, you could wear like a black t-shirt and red shorts, or you could wear, for menswear stuff, black turtleneck and red, red corduroy pants if it's cold. Maybe you'd wear like a black rayon shirt and red like linen trousers when it's summertime. Like there's, to me, I've always been into this. And I used to Disney Bound as well. Maybe I'll have some pictures of that. So I'm kind of poisoned by this idea of cinematic dressing where I start to see these references here, and especially Disneyland, kind of like a merch T-shirt. It's kind of like, if you know, you know. And a lot of times when we go to Disneyland, like, oh hey, look, there's a kid is wearing like cream pants and an orange shirt. Is he Finding Nemo this day? Well, his mom is
Or
wearing.
is he just
Yeah, or
is
just
he
a
just
kid.
dressed like that?
Yeah, but his mom. I think there's one time where like I saw like a girl wearing like a purple tank top and like green skinny jeans, and then the dad
Yeah.
was wearing red, and I'm like, okay, Sebastian and Little Mermaid. I don't know if like it could be just a dad wearing a red shirt or something.
It's a big coincidence.
Yeah.
What if you walked up and his name was Sebastian?
And he's like, "Hello, man."
Hello, man. Cinnamon.
Cinnabon.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's not about gatekeeping in that sense. I feel like I think there it's more of a celebration where if someone were to ask you, you could be like, oh yeah, I'm dressed like this, and it's kind of fun. I mean, that's how people did it at Dapper Day, where they'd walk up to us a little bit there, and they'd be, even though we weren't dressed as a character, we were obviously in this world of Dapper Day, and people would ask, what do you guys dress up for? And you go, hey, this is Dapper Day. It's for like twice a year we get to dress up. It's cool. It's cool when people ask you that, so you can kind of include them.
Yeah.
It's like wearing
And I
it's like
mean,
wearing pins or patches or whatever.
and once again, I mean, if you just boil it down to you're just taking either the color combination or the specific vibe of the character, then it just becomes kind of like it's just a suggestion or whatever.
Yes,
It's
a
like
suggestion.
a prompt.
Yeah, seeds from a hat. It's a
for
vibe.
putting together for putting together an outfit.
Yeah, and I think it's great. I mean, like when I used to go to Disneyland more often with some fellow Disney heads, like there'd be like Disney bound challenges that you would do, and I feel like we do this. Yeah, like you said, we do the kind of the same thing where when we go out, it's like, okay, what are the vibes today? Like Spencer, are we wearing sport coats? Like near the like we want to, even though we're still gonna stand out. It's nice to be cohesive and kind of be like kind of share what this world that we're creating with the outside
Yeah.
world. And I feel like this comes down to a question of what makes up this world. What is the cinematic world that we are dressing for? And Kiyoshi has two points to this. He says, number one, you can think of the world that already exists. What a boring thing. Via but like think about like via your brand or a brand, specific brand or theme or identity. Or number two, think of where you actually work, where you socialize, where you hang out, and imagine what this character of you would cinematically wear to that place and event. Again, he did ask me when I was going to do a photo shoot with someone, he goes, okay, if you want, like, if this is like your favorite photo shoot, what would this character of yours be? If they played you, if this was a pivotal moment in the movie of you, what would that
Yeah.
be? And I like that. I think, and number two, I think that that's great. I think his idea of where you work, where you socialize, where you hang out is grounded and realistic and approachable. And again, this could be just our LA thing here, but in our places, it is literally agnostic. People
Yeah.
don't care here as much. Maybe this is just a West Coast versus East Coast kind of a thing. It could be also America versus London, but the LA doesn't have this context like we said here. So we do have this ability to kind of jump in, and even though the movie of us could be boring, I feel like that just gives us even more ammo to create this identity for ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, I think I dress pretty well for the context of my life. Like, I wear a lot of
Yeah.
like rugged Americana shit, and I genuinely like going to like greasy spoon diners and like dive bars and, like shit like that. Yeah, it just kind of like it fits.
And I feel like, see, I think that Spencer, I think maybe yours kind of makes more sense after all, as much as I've known you. And for me, I think it's funny where I think maybe because of my own narcissism and my own snobbery, that I kind of not force is a kind of a bad term here, but I generally like the stuff that Spencer does here. But I feel like I dress quote like myself. And for example, when I started going to trivia, it's my local dive-ish Irish pub that's basically a sports pub, and it's one of those things where I could have dressed more conducive for that place. I could dress more like Spencer, but realistically speaking, my wardrobe is much more tailored than Spencer's. I wear a tie more than he does. I wear sport coats more than he does. And although sometimes I do wear, if I'm going out with friends, I do dress in like the kind of more dark French Ivy inspired way. Sometimes when it's my local bar, I just wear whatever I'm wearing that day, and it happens to be kind of Ivy. And something I realized while we were making the notes for this is like, I can't think what's another bar where it's a local place that maybe the bartenders know him, the local people know him for going there for trivia, and he's wearing a fucking suit and a tweed jacket and a tie. It's fucking Frasier and Cheers, man. And I
You're
think it's so.
Frasier. Do they do trivia in Cheers?
No, but I'm just saying like that's the reason why
Okay.
I go. But I mean, I guess Frasier did watch sports. So it's actually kind of did they kind of retconned that. I think Frasier did go. He's like more of like a man's man. He just happens to be dressed up
Oh
in
yeah.
Cheers. But then when they went back to Frasier, he became a lot more like intellectual or like nerdy and kind of closed off. Even though Niles is more. I hate that we're talking more about TV than movies. But it's fine.
I
It's
mean,
fine.
hey, we can piss everybody on like Letterboxd or Film Twitter off by just declaring that TV is movies.
Well, not HBO.
HBO, it's not
It's
television.
not television. But I think it's kind of fun where like over time, yeah, like you could say I was making a mistake by dressing up to the bar, but then now, Rudy, my local bartender, knows me. I know his son's name is Ethan, which I think is kind of funny, and my friends and I go there and we're, sometimes we're fitted. Like I wear my thing. We have Sylvia who wears kind of the more Issey Miyake, kind of more, not avant-garde, but a lot more flowy, designery, expensive human fashion, subreddit type of style. And it becomes our thing. Like in this world, in this quote movie of Ethan, it's my thing to go to trivia wearing my tweed jackets. And it's fine. And it makes sense for the character. And it's kind of silly, but you have like you have Frasier as an example there. Or if we're talking about movies, even though it's just two guys talking, My Dinner with Andre is kind of a fucking menswear
Yeah.
movie here, dude.
We were looking at pictures of this yesterday, and it's
Yeah.
like Wallace Shawn's got a corduroy jacket with an OCBD and black knit tie, and then
Andre.
He's got the big chunky shawl collar cardigan.
Yeah. I think it's kind of fun to think of it this way. Like, okay, obviously, like they could have worn anything to this dinner, but there's, it's fun to think about. Okay, what are these people here? Are they? I've never seen the movie.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like it's again like when I do the fucking Abed thing of filtering everything through pop culture.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
it's like if you're going out to like a nice dinner with friends or something, would you rather just show up? Oh, I'm just gonna wear my jeans and a t-shirt, or would you be like, I'm gonna be like My Dinner with Andre? Or if you're going to like a dinner late night with friends, rather than being like, I'm gonna wear my pajama bottoms that I'm already in, being like, okay, this is like the scene in like Taxi Driver where all the taxi drivers are at that late night diner and like hanging out after they clock out. It's like it is very cheesy when you like actually think about it, but
But we
it's
like
just
the
kind of-
cheese. We like the cheese
yeah,
a little
it's like
bit,
it's a fun. It's like I said, it's just a way of putting together an outfit and like channeling a vibe.
And I feel like we've been doing that a lot more lately, or we've been more aware of this because of the pandemic, where nowadays it's not as easy to hang out anymore. So you literally sometimes only have the opportunity for a dinner or for that drink to kind of dress up. And wouldn't it be fun to kind of fill it with the vibe of the character you want? Like I remember when I went to hang out with the Gooch brothers, and again, this is something I have not seen them in like basically almost 2 years at this point, right? And it's after work. I normally, when I'm at work, if I didn't take a shower early enough, I'm just gonna stay in pajamas all day because it's just too late. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna go get boba with them. It's an opportunity to get fitted. What vibes am I gonna go for? What character is this? What is the situation? And it's raining, so I'm like, okay, it's gotta be some layers there. It's kind of cold for LA. Um, might as well dress conducive for that. So I wore like a corduroy suit, navy turtleneck, a sweater vest, long wings for shoes. And then like a fedora and an M43 over it because I didn't get my barber yet. And it's like, okay, like this is what like this guy Ethan would be going to meet up with his friends. Kind of practical, kind of trad, by which I'm just wearing a corduroy jacket, a little bit rugged, but practical, but still dressy, And it is silly. It's like, yeah, you're getting dressed to go get boba, but when you didn't get dressed at all at home, why not get dressed up to go to boba? Why not fill in that context? Yeah. Make it a cinematic thing. And of course, I am a photographer in the very loose definition of the word here. I love taking pictures of my friends, but I think my friends get that idea too because they like to be solidified in this world. If we think we make jokes about the sad canon and canonized for the blog, but the blog is kind of its own world too, right? Like there's this kind of idea, this world that my friends all fit in, of us getting boba, us going to Dapper Day, where these characters of ours do this. Obviously, you're missing the context of Spencer studying at home, Ethan making spreadsheets, but when we do present ourselves, outwardly it is fun as a mindset to think about. It's it's what's conducive and accessible for this character. And I think this mindset, is something that this visual thinking is also one reason why when we read Die Workwear's essay on book core, why it's like, oh yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
it right there. Like that's why it's so cool. And I think Derek is onto something here. We have a whole stream on book core, but I think Derek has kind of tapped into this idea where people in menswear are starting to dress like they are going to an independent bookstore. But when you expand upon that, like, I mean, yeah, you could think about it as like a trend, like dark academia, whatever, but the root of it is, what does a person who goes to an independent
Yeah,
bookstore look like?
what is this character dressed like?
And if you go to these things, which I don't go to as much, I'm starting to, because my girlfriend loves reading. She loves bookstores. She loves the library. I think it's so great. I started to read more. Obviously, that's the reason why I read Absolutely on Music, one of my favorite books. Um, but like thinking about this way, like, okay, like when you go there, you notice these kind of, like, it's equal parts pieces of clothing and attitude. I think the way that Derek frames it, there's a little bit of like an East Coast lean to it, a little bit of a metropolitan idea of, like, the rich retired professor who just spends his time at the bookstore drinking coffee and reading, like, some fucking French literature, going to an author talk in the middle of a day, and he's wearing probably like a big coat, maybe some comfortable like dad sneakers, but then like dress slacks, an OCBD or a Western shirt, because it's casual for them. And it's like this idea of being kind of comfortable, a little bit of trad, but kind of quirky at the same time too. Like, I think my girlfriend dresses very book core, where, yeah, I can't think of, when I look at Isabel, she's wearing like kind of like fun patterned pants, Mary Jane's, a merch T-shirt of her favorite band or a favorite independent artist, with like a big cardigan because she gets cold, and then like a tote bag. And you could say that it could be trendy, but I know her, and she looks like a person who would go to the bookstore, and like it just kind of makes sense. It's comfortable because you're sitting down. It's flowy. It's quirky. There's fun socks involved here, but if I was making a movie and I had to think of inspiration, I wouldn't lift the actual outfit, but I would say that Isabel has a vibe that I could use for a character who would be book core in some movie, and I think
Mm.
hopefully I do the same thing too. There's also that sense of maybe when you go to a bookstore thing that is book core, because that's literally what you're doing. There's the
I mean, I do
opposite way of
that
thinking about it.
whenever I go to a museum. I want to be like dressed up because I'm like, I want to be the cool intellectual who's wearing like a sport coat and looking at art. You know?
Absolutely, it's kind of a way of, if this is our way of thinking about art, because I mean, maybe a couple people think that us talking about taste is a little too, it's a disservice to art, but maybe this is why we consider it art, because it's like as if we were making a movie here. It's
Mm-hmm.
like stepping into that character and kind of, again, having a prompt. It's like, maybe not the art of pure, inspiration, but it's like, if you're doing an essay or or an art project, and goes, okay, you have to paint like cubism. Okay, well, and now it's an exercise in painting a cubism. Just like how when I took my film class, it's like, okay, you have to have a movie that goes in and out of lighting changes 5 times. I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of cool. Like, now I have a frame of a prompt, to kind of think
Mm-hmm.
about how to make this thing. So clothing is kind of the same way here. You know, Again, this is just because in real life there aren't a lot of menswear events. Like Spencer said, like, when you go
Especially
to the
now.
especially now. And the whole museum example is such a good idea, or a good example of it, because people go to museums wearing whatever they want. You sometimes you see tourists there wearing comfortable clothing. You see people, people visit the Getty when they come to LA, and I think that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's like the art kids who come there, all the time. Then you get like the people who are there on a date. And you get people who work there. There's so many characters to kind of choose from, and it's silly, but a fun silly. I think the framing mindset here is, if you want to have fun, kind of lose yourself in the moment, as Eminem did. Um, Cinematic dressing kind of fills in that gap for you. You think of yourself as the character and the director. And I think every menswear guy kind of does this, right?
Oh,
Like, to an
absolutely.
extent. Yeah. Like, I mean,
Every menswear guy, when they get dressed, they say it's like, I'm a gentleman. I'm an old school gentleman, or like I'm like a, like, vintage guys. It's like, yeah, I'm an Esquire man.
that's me.
Or like that's you. Or people who want to dress like, Fred Astaire, anyone who's like into Ivy is like subconsciously thinking it's like, yeah, I'm just like the kids and take Ivy. I'm just like the guy at Yale.
Yeah, and maybe if they don't think that way, maybe that's our projection onto them, just because we're so used to that. I mean, it's Abed brain, dude.
Yeah.
It's like in like the paintball episode, like, oh, we're just gonna do Star Wars now. We're doing Star Wars. Like it's just and again, I can't emphasize how silly this is because I mean, Spencer and I go on TV tropes. It's like it's one of those
Hmm.
things. Our friend Aldous is the same way. I think one of the reasons why we have this kind of community of guys who kind of are able to think this way and kind of get it. And obviously, this is not for everyone, but I'm not surprised. A lot of our friends also go on TV tropes. Also, like to think of themselves as a character. Kyoshi is very, he has a very brand mindset. Like he likes to dress in service of a brand sometimes, like to like 18 East and see what a
Hmm.
designer is doing. Or there's the opposite, like us, where we try and go, okay, what world are we kind of
Yeah, I'm gonna
creating
take
here?
this piece from this brand and fit it into my world, rather than saying I'm gonna get into the like engineered garments, 18 East, Capital, Drake's, aren't whatever world. It's like,
Yeah,
how am I gonna take this Drake's piece and make it fit into my wardrobe?
that's right. And I think that's where, my ideas of taste kind of come in here, where it's, if we're thinking about my definition of like, it's a vehicle of your point of view, those ideas are kind of equal to me. I think, and sometimes you don't even have to be beholden to either one. Sometimes I might, if I had enough drakes, I would wear all drakes maybe as a fun exercise. Okay, I'm gonna lose myself in Michael Hill's world of whatever this is, or I'll do it the other way, and I'll be okay. How do I take this Drake's tie and make it not Drake's? I'll wear it with like a DB suit and a Spirit Point collar so it looks a little bit less Ivy. I think that the cinematic dressing again is a prompt that you can go in almost any direction with it, and it's not
Hmm.
really restrictive, because I know that a lot of people are going to come at this, and not to be all chest brain here, but they're going to say, oh, okay, well, is this authentic? Are you being your true self? And I think that's kind of the wrong way of thinking about it, because you know it's inherently an maybe this is a hot take, an inauthentic experience, because you are putting yourself in service of a prompt. If that's your definition of authenticity, the presence of a prompt takes the power away from you a little bit. But then you do get the power back after deciding how to answer that prompt. So it
Yeah,
goes
because I mean,
it goes both
I'm
ways.
I'm still wearing the clothes that I want to, even if like when I'm getting dressed, I'm thinking it's like, oh, I just watched, this like I just watched this like B movie from 1960 like one, so I'm gonna dress like, I'm gonna wear like a sport shirt and like a sport coat or whatever, because that's what that's the vibe of the movie.
Yeah.
I'm wearing that because I want to, because that's the mood that I'm in. So even though it's, it's like what I picked out.
No, exactly. I mean, it goes. I don't want to say that we're gonna dive too deep here on choice and like what constitutes a choice, right? Like I think that's
Mm,
it gets too nitty gritty there. And the thing is with movies, like right, like I understand that everything is so intentional, but sometimes you just have to sit back and lose yourself in the movie here, to look at it and enjoy it. And the thing with cinematic dressing is you are both the director and the audience, and then you're also, when you're interacting with other people, they can also be kind of the audience as well. So there's a lot that goes into it where it's a silly thing. I mean, it's like Abed being fucking Jesus in his documentary, where it's a movie about making a movie. Like, there's so much stuff there, and it's still. I mean, they play it up for laughs, but that's kind of about fashion, right? Like it's
mm,
not that serious to us, even though we take it seriously. And that's kind of like the fun idea about, like, when I make a YouTube video, like I clearly, like Spencer says, like, you picked it because you like it. I love the movie I'm making. Obviously, I am copying the beginning of fucking uh uh Casino Royale, with the black and white and two guys talking to each other and one guy gets shot. But I do that because I like it, and I
yeah.
authentically like it.
I mean, you could see like 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 Tarantino or PTA, like people, or Wes Anderson, people who steal from like visual visual flares from older directors. I think like Wes Anderson especially, and like Quentin Tarantino, who like take entire sequences from older movies. Um, it's just, yeah, it's just a way of like kind of showing your inspirations, I think.
Yeah, and I feel like I don't think that that's pretentious at all. We had a conversation on taste where whether that strong um whether that strong expression of taste is pretentious, but I feel like sometimes you're proud of what you like, and I think that that's fine too. It's, again, maybe my mindset is kind of like Disney bounding, where you are showing what you like. You are showing that you like Ivy. You are showing that you like Brycelands. You are showing that you like the Armory. And it could be as specific as wearing a literal piece from them, or it can be expanded as dressing in the vibe of that brand or that tailor or whatever. And I think being aware of it, like we've said in plenty of other stuff, being aware of all the details that go into it is a fun way of, of seeing how far you can get into that idea while pushing the idea of, is it you or not? And I think that it's fun, right? Like, even when you do improv, you're probably thinking of like other things that are funny. Like, you're not creating an entirely new idea right off the bat here. If you really want to think about it, you could be like, oh, well, that guy's improv is clearly inspired by Scott Aukerman or something like that. But I feel like that's fine too. And if you recognize that, it should be a launching point to find other stuff. Just like with movies, where like, okay, if you're, like we talked about in Taste, where if you're aware that you like a certain type of movie, maybe if you like My Dinner with Andre, maybe you'd like The Conversation, or like Frost Nixon. Even though Frost Nixon, I think the movie kind of expands. Or maybe you like The Two Popes.
Just
that's a good example.
People talking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Two Popes, good movie. Or Young Pope, TV show.
Or New Pope, also TV show.
Is that really? There's that one too?
Yeah, it's the sequel to The Young Pope.
Oh shit, Jude Law.
It's, no, because I don't think Jude Law's in that season. It's John Malkovich is the Pope.
Oh shit, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it's a fun jumping up point, because dressing cinematically, and if you just think about it like a movie in all forms of it, the movies are supposed to be fun, man. Like, there's so much. You can watch other movies. You can watch you can watch other directors, and the same thing with fashion. If you like a certain look, do you like the tailor? Do you like the vibe? Do you like the tie? Do you like, the fit, the silhouette? There's so many choices that go into this, and at the end of the day, it's about filling in the gaps that you have in regular life. I don't care if that's escapism, because movies are escapism. You come here, we come here to a place where, sometimes heartbreak feels good in a place like this, where
Oh yeah.
yeah. And there is no more dress code anymore, at least for us. This is where we're operating from here. You have so many choices, it's like, it's almost as if cinematic dressing is a way of creating a dress code for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's technically, I took Spencer's quote right there. I took it from him, but he wrote that down. And
you got the line too fast, like Jamie Taco.
Yeah.
The TV show.
But I really enjoy this idea, and I think more people should try it. And if not, that's okay too. I think
Yeah, it's again one of those things where I'm convinced a lot of people subconsciously do some form of this. I mean, maybe we'll like release this episode and everyone's like, oh, this is just called like thinking or whatever.
Well, joke's on us. So
yeah,
this is not like a new idea here, and I'm sure, like, since I'm sure other people do this too. We just call it this way because that's how we think about it. We saw the Ralph Lauren article, like, kind of, okay, cinematic dressing, and I feel like you can call it whatever you like, but this is just our way of framing it. And hopefully maybe it'll open some doors for you guys, or like every other episode, whether it's on Taste or Proportions, maybe you already knew this and this is completely useless for you and completely banal. So good for you. You got it. You're already there, baby.
You did it already.
You're already a director. Kid goes to the movies.
Congrats.
What is it? The kid
Oscars.
makes the picture? What is it?
The kid stays in the picture.
There you go. Is that Bogdanovich? That's Bogdanovich, right?
No,
that's the Last Picture Show.
Yeah, that's the Last Picture Show. The kid stays in the picture is about Robert Evans, the producer of The Godfather.
Oh, that's right.
We should have done like a Siskel and Ebert thing at the top. Where we both give a thumbs up. Well, I guess that doesn't really play in a podcast. The Siskel and Ebert thing we could have done is, if I'm Siskel and you're Ebert, then I die, and then you get like jaw cancer, and then you die.
There we go. Wait, they're both dead? Oh yeah, they're both dead.
Siskel and Ebert. Yeah, Siskel died in like the 90s, and Ebert died a couple years ago.
That's right.
Yeah.
Man.
Rest in peace.
R.I.P. Yeah.
Or it could have been Tim and Greg, or just like scream.
There you go. What about Waldorf and what's the other Muppet?
Astoria. What is this? Waldorf and it's another name of a hotel. Statler.
Right? Yeah, it's Statler. Waldorf and Statler. But also, if you come out of this thinking that we're film bros, I want to tell you that number one, I am not. I have the worst taste in movies. Actually, that's not true. I have like okay taste, by which I mean, it's not. I'm one of those guys like Star Wars, big thumbs up.
Yeah.
Irishman, thumbs up also, but it's long.
Um, I don't know if this is like a film bro thing, but I started really liking the movie. I liked the movie Old when I saw it, and then when I was talking to Ethan, he didn't like it, and I started liking it more out of spite. And I don't know. I think it might be a film bro thing to like obsessively defend M. Night Shyamalan, but I'm on his side now.
I thought that film board discourse on that movie has changed now, where people are like, actually, this is not good.
Not hey, depends on who you follow.
I think I saw some Twitter thread where some guys like, yeah, I'm rewatching this, and I'm like, I used to like defend it. Now I'm like, this is not holding up. I thought that was kind of funny. I should have screenshot that for you.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe my film bro thing is defending John Williams. Like I think that's my thing. I'll defend him to the end of the earth. Um, but yeah, I mean, we both like movies, and this is kind of coming from that part, coming from that realm. And I think it's kind of clear to see here who's the sillier one. It's me because I have sillier taste in movies. I love
You
SpongeBob
got the
SquarePants.
silliest taste.
Um, I don't love Ready Player One, but I'll watch it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of us. Although we both are in agreement, Spider-Man 3 sucked. It's kind of bad.
Are you talking the new one? The
No,
new
I'm actually
Spider-Man
talking
3,
about the
right?
original one actually.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't actually watched the third Spider-Man movie. I remember not liking it last time I watched it. I'm like more willing to like I like the Raimi Spider-Mans. I think the first two are pretty good. I
Yeah.
haven't seen the third in a while. I have a feeling if I watched it, I'd still be like, this is a miss. It's
Yeah, I
like the
mean,
thing with the prequels. I get that
ooh.
like I mean, I grew up with the prequels and I don't have the same nostalgia.
No,
as
I
like
don't either. I think I remember being
yeah.
like episode 3 is only good because it ties in so strongly. But again,
Uh,
here, see, this is a good example here. We're not looking at some fucking Russian films about people freezing to death. I talk about Star
I
Wars, and
was
that's kind of my thing.
my local rep theater did have Soviet September, where they were showing like Soviet movies all month, and I was bummed out because I wanted to go, but I missed out. I did. I was always like, me and my friends were like, oh, we'll go this weekend, and then something would come up or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
But that's it, guys. We like our movies. We have different taste in movies, but I think a genuine love of cinema. I just say movies because mine's not that serious.
I call
Um,
them the pictures.
oh, oh no, I saw the most pretentious one. You want to know what it is?
Yeah.
Kino.
Oh, Kino.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a film bro like Twitter thing right there, dude. Yeah, like
True Kino.
yeah, a girl was all like, yeah, if he's into Kino, he'll like these movies. I'm like, shut the fuck up, dude. I know, like it was like a joke TikTok kind of a thing. You talk
Yeah.
about like different
That's movie
movies.
circle jerk right there.
Yeah, exactly. So again, and Mentor could be the same way. But this is hopefully enlightening for you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And if not, I'm sorry. Can't please everybody.
Yeah.
You can see more pictures of Ethan cosplaying on the blog, a little bit of rest, as well as a small write up on this. But I think we kind of covered everything here. I don't think I have anything else to add with my own words.
I think we said the final word on movies,
That's right. Movies,
and they can stop
don't.
making them now.
Hey, Spielberg, it's time to rest.
Yeah, a little bit of rest.
Yeah, just a little bit. Well, if you guys want to ever contribute to this essay, which shout out to Brett, JTR, Kiyoshi, you guys all did a wonderful job, kind of inspiring this particular episode. Go to patreon.com/style and direction, and you can join us. $5 a month, you get access to our Discord where we talk about stuff like this. We talk about what we like in clothing, specifically when we have links to clothing on eBay and other places.
Yeah.
People sell
And of
their own
course you get
clothing
the
here.
bonus episodes
Bo-
where
yep.
we talk more about movies.
That's right. They're usually silly ones, and I think we actually like that one because next, the one for February is Death on the Nile.
Ooh, yeah.
That's right.
All the
Exciting.
champagne, enough champagne to fill the Nile.
That's right. Lock the doors. The murderer is in this room. There's been another murder. There has been
Every
a murder.
Everywhere that guy goes, there's a murder. If I were him, I would like to stay home.
I like how the because it's called Death on the Nile, and I like how
Uh-huh.
the tagline is "Murder was only the beginning" because Murder on the Orient Express was the first one. They don't want to go.
What if the twist is that this one was actually just an accident, and you can tell from the title because it's not like murder or killing or anything.
Is
It's
that?
just death.
Oh, did we just spoil it for ourselves?
I don't think so, because
Okay.
that would be a really anticlimactic ending where it's like, oh, actually, he tripped.
And he fell out. He fell off the boat.
He fell on a knife.
I like how you don't see Arnie Hammer a lot in the film.
Yeah, or
because-
Letitia Wright.
Or Letitia
Because this was shot in 2019.
That's
before
right.
Before she was churlish, but
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah, so you'll have to go to the Patreon to get access to that one. $10 a month. You don't get anything extra, but it's just us thanking you for supporting our podcast and my blog by extension. So thank you to Austin Malott, Shane Curry, Philip Lagarde, Audrey Jessica, Jarrett Colian, and Henrik Wilberg. We appreciate you guys a lot. We couldn't do this without you. We could, but it would just be sad and we wouldn't get that much money.
Yeah.
Thank you to we haven't thanked MJ for producing the podcast in a while.
Oh,
Whoa,
thank you,
shit.
MJ.
We're gonna have
Sorry,
a strike
MJ.
from our producer pretty soon here. Well, thank you to MJ for producing the podcast. I'm Ethan M. Wong,
I'm Spencer DSO.
and we will see you guys in the next one. Also, totally forgot, Twitch stream, twitch.tv/Style Direction.
Oh yeah. Twice a week.
Monday and Thursdays on Twitch. Catch us then if you want to talk to us directly as well without joining the Patreon. But we'd love you on both.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys next time. And
Bye-bye.
cut! That's a wrap.
Call it.
That's lunch.
Craft services.
Craft services. TMZ. They're outside.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it.